Jaden Carter walked through the school gates for the first time with his red hoodie pulled over his head and his backpack hanging loosely from one shoulder. The morning was cool, the sky still soft with early light, and the courtyard buzzed with students talking, laughing, or scrolling through their phones. No one knew who he was. No one knew where he came from. To most people, he looked like just another transfer student trying to fit into a place that already had its own groups and stories. Jaden moved slowly, taking in everything around him. The school was bigger than his old one in Atlanta. The buildings were newer, the pathways cleaner, and the atmosphere calmer. His mother had chosen this school because she wanted him somewhere peaceful, somewhere away from the noise, the pressure, and the constant competition he grew up around. Back home, Jaden trained almost every day, and everyone knew him as the boy who fought in tournaments. But here, he wanted a fresh start. He wanted people to see him as a student first, not as the kid who knew how to fight. He reached the main hallway and opened his locker, trying to blend in. A few students noticed him, but no one paid much attention, except for one group standing near the courtyard entrance. 3 boys wearing green and white varsity jackets. They were loud, confident, and full of the kind of energy that made other students step out of their way. Everyone seemed to know them, or at least know to stay out of their path. The leader, Tyler, was tall with sharp features and a voice that always seemed to carry across the courtyard. His 2 friends, Brandon and Chase, followed him everywhere, laughing at everything he said. They were known for picking on new students, especially anyone who looked quiet or different. They enjoyed the attention it gave them, the small crowd that gathered whenever they started something. When Tyler spotted Jaden standing alone, his expression shifted. He nudged Brandon and pointed in Jaden's direction. "New kid," Tyler said with a smirk. "Looks scared already." Jaden noticed them staring, but he kept his eyes on his locker. He was used to people looking at him, but he also knew he did not owe anyone a reaction. He closed his locker gently and started walking toward his first class. But the 3 boys were already moving toward him. A few students whispered, "They're doing it again," and slowly stopped to watch. Jaden kept walking, calm and relaxed. When Tyler stepped in front of him, blocking his path, Jaden stopped politely. "You lost?" Tyler asked, folding his arms. "No," Jaden replied softly. "Just trying to find my class." His voice was calm, almost too calm for someone being cornered. Jaden's natural discipline showed in the way he stood, not stiff, not scared, just steady. His breathing stayed even, and his eyes remained steady on Tyler's face, not in a challenging way, but in a respectful one. "Where you from?" Tyler asked, leaning closer. "Atlanta." "Figures," Brandon muttered, shaking his head. Jaden ignored the comment. His mother always told him that not every reaction deserved a response. Tyler looked him up and down, trying to decide whether he could push him around. Most students avoided eye contact with him, but Jaden's calmness made Tyler uncomfortable. He expected fear. He expected stuttering, shaking, backing away. But Jaden stood there like someone who knew exactly who he was. "So what's with the hoodie?" Tyler asked, tugging lightly on the sleeve. "Trying to look tough." Jaden looked at the hand touching his hoodie but did not move. "No. I just like wearing it." Brandon snorted. Chase laughed. The small crowd watching got a little bigger. Jaden could feel dozens of eyes on him. But instead of tension, he felt something else, a familiar sense of awareness, like the feeling he got just before stepping into the ring back in Atlanta. Not because he wanted to fight, but because he could tell this moment might go somewhere he did not want it to. Jaden kept his voice steady. "I do not want any problems." For a moment, Tyler paused. Then he smiled in a way that wasn't friendly. "Too late for that," Tyler said. The crowd murmured. Some students stepped back, expecting the usual drama. They had seen Tyler push kids before, but something about today felt different. Jaden's calmness was not normal. His posture, his balance, the way he stood, it almost looked trained. But no one knew that Jaden Carter had spent 7 years practicing Muay Thai. No one knew he had competed in tournaments since he was 8. No one knew his self-control came from long hours of discipline, not fear. Right now, to everyone watching, he was just a quiet new boy in a red hoodie. Jaden took a small breath and glanced around the courtyard. More students were gathering. Some looked worried, others curious, and a few even excited. But Jaden did not feel angry. He did not feel scared either. All he felt was the responsibility to handle this moment the right way. He looked at Tyler again, his voice still steady. "I am just trying to get to class. Please let me pass." The way he spoke, soft but firm, made a few students exchange confused looks. It was rare to see someone stay so calm in front of Tyler. But to Jaden, this was not bravery. This was discipline. And discipline, he believed, was stronger than anger. The bullies did not know it yet, but the boy they had decided to pick on today was the wrong boy. When Jaden asked Tyler to let him pass, the courtyard grew strangely quiet. Students who had been laughing moments earlier stopped mid-sentence. Even the breeze seemed to pause as everyone watched the new boy in the red hoodie stand calmly in front of the school's most feared trio. Tyler raised an eyebrow, irritation flickering across his face. He was used to kids stuttering or begging him to back off, not speaking politely like they had a choice. Jaden's calm tone felt almost disrespectful to him, even though nothing Jaden said was rude. The silence only made Tyler more uncomfortable. Brandon stepped beside him, whispering loudly, "He thinks he's special." Chase chuckled. "Yeah, he won't last a week here." Jaden heard their words, but he focused on keeping his breathing steady. His Muay Thai coach back home always said, "When the world around you gets loud, your mind should get quiet." And Jaden lived by that rule. Even now, surrounded by tension, he felt a sense of stillness inside. Tyler took a step closer, lowering his voice in a way that was meant to intimidate. "Look, new kid. You don't get to walk around like you own the place." Jaden blinked slowly. "I am not trying to." "Then why are you acting like you're better than everyone?" Jaden looked genuinely confused. "I never said I was." Some students exchanged glances, whispering, "Why is he so calm?" Others murmured, "He's different, something's off." Jaden noticed their eyes, judging, predicting, waiting. He understood exactly what they were expecting. They thought he would either break down or explode. But he planned to do neither. He wanted peace, nothing more. Tyler suddenly shoved Jaden's shoulder, not too hard but enough to send a message. The crowd gasped, and a few students raised their phones, ready to record what they believed would be another courtyard fight. Jaden took a single step back to balance himself. His feet landed lightly on the ground, perfectly aligned, almost as if his body moved before he told it to. Years of training had conditioned him to stay balanced no matter what. Tyler noticed the posture. His eyes narrowed. "What was that? You trying to square up?" Jaden shook his head. "No. I just did not want to fall." Tyler scoffed. "You should fall when I push you." A few students winced at the arrogance in his words. But Tyler didn't care. He liked being the one people feared. Jaden straightened his hoodie and spoke in his soft voice again. "Can we please stop? I am not here to fight anyone." The honesty in his tone made some students feel something they didn't expect, respect, or maybe curiosity. They began to see that Jaden wasn't scared. He was simply choosing peace. That type of control was rare. But Brandon, wanting to hype Tyler up even more, leaned forward and said, "Dude, he's making you look stupid. Are you gonna let him do that?" Tyler's jaw tightened. He hated looking foolish, especially in front of a crowd. He shoved Jaden again, harder this time. Jaden slid back, but instead of tripping, he stepped lightly, almost gracefully, and regained balance instantly. The movement was so smooth that even the bullies noticed something strange. Nobody dodged or caught themselves like that without training. Tyler's face burned with embarrassment as the crowd whispered louder. What was that? He moved like he's done that before. No way, he's just a normal kid. But Tyler hid his confusion behind anger. He stepped even closer, his voice dropping into a threatening growl. I don't care where you came from. You show respect here. Jaden met his eyes and spoke with absolute sincerity. I am showing respect. But I also have the right to protect my space. The firmness in his voice hit Tyler harder than any punch could have. It wasn't loud, but it was strong. And strength without aggression confused Tyler more than anything. Chase muttered, man, he's not scared at all. For the first time, Tyler felt something unusual, hesitation. Not because Jaden looked dangerous, but because Jaden looked unshakable. And bullies hated facing someone they couldn't intimidate. Tyler puffed out his chest, trying to regain control. You think you can just walk in here and talk back to me? I am not talking back, Jaden replied quietly. I am just telling the truth. The crowd leaned forward. Jaden's calmness was beginning to make Tyler look like the unreasonable one. And Tyler could sense the shift. He needed to regain the crowd's attention, fast. He snapped. Enough. Let's see how tough you really are. The atmosphere thickened instantly. Students stepped back to give space. A few whispered, this is it. Others whispered, Tyler's going too far. Jaden felt his heartbeat slow instead of rise. He did not want to fight. He wanted peace. But he also knew that if things escalated, he had a responsibility, to himself and to everyone watching, to stay controlled, no matter what happened. Tyler raised his hand as if he was about to grab Jaden's hoodie. But Jaden gently stepped back, not aggressively, just creating space. That single move made one thing very clear to everyone watching. Jaden wasn't afraid. Jaden wasn't weak. Jaden wasn't running. He was simply ready. Not to hurt anyone. But to protect himself if he needed to. And that calm strength made the entire courtyard go silent again. Tyler's hand hovered in the air for a second longer than he intended. He wanted to grab Jaden's hoodie, yank him forward, and force him to react. But something in Jaden's expression made him pause, not fear, not anger, something else. Stillness. Like someone who had stood in tougher places than a school courtyard. Brandon nudged him. Do it, bro. He's nothing. More students gathered now, forming a loose circle. Some stood on benches, others held their phones, recording carefully. A few looked genuinely worried, biting their lips or glancing toward the building for a teacher. But no one stepped in yet. Jaden remained still. His hands were by his sides, his breathing steady. Every movement of Tyler's hand, every shift in the bully's feet, Jaden's eyes noticed. His training wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy. It showed in the quiet details, the way he balanced his weight, the way he kept his stance open instead of stiff, the way he watched without panicking. His Muay Thai coach always said, your opponent reveals their plan long before they strike. Watch their shoulders, not their hands. Right now, Tyler's shoulders were tense and lifted, showing he was acting on emotion, not control. That alone told Jaden everything he needed to know. Tyler lunged forward. But at the last second, his move wasn't clean. It wasn't strong. It wasn't even dangerous. It was clumsy, driven by embarrassment, not real intention. He grabbed at Jaden's hoodie again. Jaden stepped back, one natural, effortless step, like moving through water. The crowd gasped, not because Jaden fought, but because he moved with a grace none of them expected. What is he doing? That's not normal. He's trained. I swear he's trained. But Jaden didn't speak. He couldn't. Not while everything inside him sharpened like a blade, not to hurt, but to stay in control. Muay Thai wasn't about punching or kicking. It was about discipline, respect, and responding only when necessary. Tyler grew more irritated. "Stop moving. I am not trying to fight you," Jaden said softly. His voice carried across the courtyard like a steady wave. A few students lowered their phones, realizing the moment wasn't about violence at all, it was about something deeper. Two different kinds of strength facing each other. Brandon stepped in now, shoving Jaden from behind. It wasn't hard, but it forced Jaden to take a quick step forward. Brandon snickered, feeling proud of himself. "What now?" Brandon taunted. "Still wanna pretend you're calm?" Jaden turned slowly. "I am not pretending." His response wasn't loud, but it hit Brandon harder than any comeback. The way Jaden stood, the way he looked at them, not scared, not angry, made both bullies feel a strange discomfort they weren't used to. Jaden's calmness was beginning to make them look out of control. Chase joined in, circling to Jaden's side. "Maybe he needs a real lesson." The crowd murmured nervously. Even the students who liked drama were starting to feel uneasy. Jaden didn't look like someone trying to start trouble. He looked like someone trying very hard to avoid it. Tyler, now red with frustration, clenched his fists. "Fine. If you won't fight, then we'll make you." He stepped forward and pushed Jaden hard enough to knock the average kid off balance. But Jaden didn't fall. Instead, his foot slid back automatically, grounding him. His knees bent slightly, barely noticeable, but perfect form. His other hand rose a little as if protecting himself, but it wasn't a fist. It was open, calm, trained. That moment changed everything. Students gasped again. One whispered, "That's a defensive stance. I've seen that before." Another whispered, "My brother does Muay Thai. He stands like that." Someone else murmured, "Wait, what if he's actually really good?" But Tyler didn't understand any of that. All he saw was someone refusing to fall for him. It stung his pride more than any insult. He moved again, quickly this time. Jaden's eyes followed every motion, but he still didn't strike back. He only stepped aside smoothly, letting Tyler's hand swipe air. It was the kind of dodge that only came from hours of practice, but Jaden made it look like a natural reaction. Brandon's eyes widened. "Bro, did you see that?" Chase swallowed. "He's not normal." Tyler was breathing heavier now. Not from effort, but from humiliation. His face flushed, his movements sloppy, his frustration climbing. "You think you're better than me, don't you?" Tyler snapped. Jaden shook his head calmly. "No. I just do not want to hurt anyone." The courtyard fell completely silent. That sentence, soft, honest, unexpected, hit harder than any punch. Students looked at each other with wide eyes. Who even said things like that? Bullies expected pushback. They expected fear. They expected yelling or cursing or running. But Jaden gave them none of that. And somehow, that made him stronger than anything they had faced before. Tyler stepped closer again, his voice lower now. "Then why won't you fight?" Jaden looked at him with a quiet intensity. "Because fighting is not how you prove strength." A few students nodded slowly. It made sense. It felt true. And it made Tyler look like the only one who didn't understand the moment. But his pride wouldn't let him back down. Not yet. Brandon and Chase circled even closer, their steps forming a small triangle around Jaden. The air grew heavy. Students held their breath. For the first time, Jaden realized something important. They weren't going to stop. He didn't want this. He didn't choose this. But if they pushed him any further, he knew he would have to protect himself. Not to show strength. But because he respected himself enough to not let anyone harm him. Jaden slowly shifted his stance, still peaceful, still controlled, but ready. And the entire courtyard felt the change. The wrong new boy was not so wrong after all. The courtyard felt different now. Not louder, not quieter, just heavier. Students stood in a full circle around Jaden, their faces tense with curiosity and worry. Tyler, Brandon, and Chase tightened their formation around him. They thought surrounding him would break his confidence. Instead, Jaden simply adjusted his footing, almost like his body knew what to do before he even thought about it. His coach's voice echoed in his mind. When cornered, do not panic. Step, breathe, look. Always look. And Jaden looked. Not with fear, but with awareness. Tyler moved first. His shoulders rose, his chest tightened, and he stepped forward with a burst of frustration more than control. It was the kind of movement that came from emotion, not skill. He shoved Jaden again, harder this time. Jaden slid back, but instead of stumbling, he lowered his center of gravity, letting the force move through him rather than against him. His arms instinctively came up, not in fists, not to strike, but to shield and protect. The crowd gasped at the elegance of the motion. Brandon muttered, "What kind of move was that?" Chase whispered, "Dude, I told you, he's trained." But Tyler didn't hear them. His anger drowned everything out. "You think this is a game?" Tyler yelled, stepping closer. Jaden kept his voice calm. "No. This is not a game. This is not what I want." "Then stop acting like you're special." Tyler snapped. "I am not acting," Jaden answered simply. That calm honesty made Tyler furious. He lunged again, trying to grab Jaden's hoodie with both hands. His fingers brushed the fabric. But Jaden shifted, pivoting lightly on one foot, and Tyler grabbed nothing but air. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. It was controlled, precise, almost gentle. Jaden had spent years practicing simple pivots, steps, and defensive angles in Muay Thai. Movements that didn't look like much, until they mattered. Students whispered loudly now. "That was definitely Muay Thai. My cousin trains, he moves like that." "Dude, Tyler is embarrassing himself." Brandon grew nervous and moved to Jaden's side, trying to grab his arm. Jaden stepped away again, fluid and calm, leaving Brandon confused and reaching into empty space. Chase tried from behind, reaching for Jaden's shoulder. Jaden heard the footsteps before the hand touched him. He turned his body slightly, making Chase stumble forward past him. Still, Jaden didn't touch anyone. Not once. Not even for balance. That alone stunned the crowd. Strength without aggression. Skill without violence. Control without ego. For the first time, the bullies realized they weren't dealing with someone ordinary. Jaden wasn't scared because he didn't have to be. Tyler, breathless and embarrassed, clenched his fists. "Stop moving. Stand still." Jaden looked at him with a calm gaze. "If I stand still, you will hurt me." Tyler hesitated. Just for a second. Long enough for everyone to see that Jaden's words were true. But pride wouldn't let Tyler back away. Not with half the school watching. He charged again. This time, Jaden knew he wouldn't be able to dodge cleanly. He could see it in Tyler's posture, the boy was no longer pushing or grabbing. He was running at him full force, driven by humiliation. Jaden didn't want things to escalate. He didn't want anyone to get hurt. But he also knew he had to protect himself. Tyler reached out. And Jaden acted. Not with a punch. Not with a kick. Not with anything offensive. His hands rose in a classic Muay Thai guard, elbows tucked, palms open. When Tyler swung wildly, Jaden absorbed the motion on his forearm, redirecting it down with a smooth parry. Tyler stumbled forward, off balance. Gasps erupted around the courtyard. Jaden quickly stepped aside, guiding Tyler's momentum past him, not forcing, just helping him move where he was already falling. Tyler stumbled but didn't fall. He recovered, blinking in disbelief. He had swung with all the strength he had. And it felt like hitting a wall of air. What was that? Brandon asked. Jaden answered honestly. A block. A soft one. A what? Chase whispered. It is just defense, Jaden said. I am not trying to harm anyone. The crowd stared at him in awe. Tyler looked shaken now. His chest heaved. His breathing was uneven. He wasn't hurt, only confused. He had never fought someone who didn't want to fight back, someone who defended without attacking, someone who made him feel powerless without ever touching him. Jaden lowered his hands slowly. Please stop this. You will not win anything by hurting me. Something about Jaden's tone made the courtyard shift emotionally. It wasn't weakness. It was maturity. A type of strength that didn't need to prove anything. Tyler looked around at the watching students. For the first time, he saw the looks on their faces. They weren't cheering for him. They weren't impressed. They weren't scared. They were disappointed. And that hit him harder than anything Jaden could ever do physically. But the moment wasn't over. Brandon suddenly stepped forward, trying to take advantage of Jaden's lowered guard. I'll handle him. He reached out to grab Jaden's wrist. Jaden moved. His body reacted before his mind could stop it. He shifted into a perfect Muay Thai stance, light on his feet, balanced, grounded. His left forearm came up in a quick guard. His right arm swept gently but firmly, breaking Brandon's grip without force. Students gasped again. Brandon froze, shocked that his hand had been redirected so easily. Jaden stepped back, palms open. Do not do that. I do not want to hurt you. Brandon stepped away instinctively, as if he suddenly realized he was standing inches from a real fighter, not a street brawler, but someone trained, disciplined, and dangerously controlled. The courtyard was silent. For the first time, all three bullies understood. They had ambushed the wrong boy. And he hadn't even begun to fight. The courtyard was so silent, it felt like the air had stopped moving. Tyler, Brandon, and Chase stood frozen, each one trying to understand how a boy who refused to throw a single punch could make them feel so powerless. Students around them whispered, but the whispers sounded distant. Jaden lowered his arms again, breathing softly, keeping his stance open and calm. Nothing in his posture looked threatening. He didn't look like someone showing off. He didn't look proud, or angry, or excited. He looked steady. Focused. Grounded. Tyler's confusion slowly mixed with another emotion, something he was not used to feeling. Respect. Even if he did not want to admit it. But Brandon, who hated losing face even more than Tyler, stepped forward again. His voice shook a little. Why do you move like that? Jaden didn't answer right away. He watched Brandon's hands, his feet, the tension in his shoulders. Old habits. His coach always taught him to read danger before words. But Brandon wasn't a threat anymore. His steps were hesitant, his breathing unsteady. Jaden relaxed slightly. I trained, Jaden finally said, his voice low. Trained? Chase repeated, eyes widening. Trained how? Jaden hesitated again. It wasn't because he wanted to hide something. It was because he didn't want it to sound like bragging. He didn't want people to be scared of him or impressed by him. He only wanted to be understood. I practiced Muay Thai, he said gently. For 7 years. A wave of whispers burst through the crowd. I knew it. That explains everything. He's a fighter, a real fighter. Tyler's mouth opened slightly. He looked at Jaden differently now. Not like a target. More like someone he should have never challenged. Brandon blinked repeatedly. You're like, what? A black belt or something? Jaden shook his head softly. There are no belts in Muay Thai. Only training. Only discipline. Chase frowned. Then how good are you? Jaden looked down for a moment, searching for the simplest truth. Good enough to know when not to fight. Those words struck the crowd deeper than anything else he had said. He didn't say he was a champion. He didn't mention trophies. He didn't brag about medals. He focused on self-control. And that made him stand taller than any fighter who led with ego. A teacher finally started walking across the courtyard, heading toward the group. She had noticed the circle forming and the phones raised. But she was still too far to understand what had happened. Tyler saw her and panicked. If she reached them, he would be the one in trouble. Not Jaden. Not Brandon. Not Chase. Him. The leader who started everything. He turned back to Jaden, his voice suddenly softer. Why didn't you hit me? Jaden looked up. Their eyes met, not with anger, not with challenge. Just honesty. Because hurting you would not make anything better, Jaden said. And you are not my enemy. Tyler blinked hard, shocked by the sincerity. He expected sarcasm or a threat. But Jaden spoke with no bitterness at all. You pushed me, Jaden continued gently. You grabbed me. You tried to scare me. But I never saw you as someone I needed to hurt. Only someone I needed to avoid harming. For the first time since the confrontation began, Tyler felt something like shame tighten in his chest. Not because Jaden beat him, Jaden didn't hit him even once. But because Jaden treated him with respect Tyler never gave in return. Brandon swallowed. So, you could have beaten all of us. Jaden looked at them carefully. I do not want to beat anyone. That is not why I trained. He paused. His voice softened even more. My coach said strength means nothing if it is used to hurt people. The crowd fell silent again. Some students lowered their phones, realizing this moment wasn't about watching a fight, it was about watching someone choose peace when he had every reason not to. Tyler's anger had drained completely now. He stared at Jaden like someone seeing a person for the first time, not the quiet new kid, but someone with depth and discipline he never expected. Why didn't you just tell us? Tyler whispered. Jaden thought for a moment. Because I wanted to be seen as a normal student. Not as a fighter. I came here for school, not for trouble. Brandon rubbed his neck awkwardly. We messed up. Jaden nodded slightly. You did. But you can stop now. Tyler took a slow breath. His pride felt heavy, but something inside him shifted. He wasn't used to apologizing. He wasn't used to backing down. But Jaden's calm made it impossible to stay stubborn. I shouldn't have treated you like that, Tyler said quietly. I thought you were just some quiet kid. Jaden nodded. I am quiet. That does not make me weak. Tyler lowered his eyes, nodding once. For a moment, the two boys stood facing each other, one who had mistaken quietness for weakness, and one who understood that real strength was silent. The teacher was now close enough to see the tension and rushed toward the group. But before she could say anything, Tyler stepped away from Jaden, raising his hands toward her. We're good, Tyler said quickly. Nothing happened. I promise. The teacher looked between the two boys, confused by the calmness in Jaden's face and the sudden humility in Tyler's. Something had shifted, something she couldn't explain. Jaden took a small breath, relieved. The moment was over. The danger had passed. But the lesson had just begun. The teacher stood between the boys now, confused by the unusual calm she sensed. Most times when she ran toward a crowd, there were raised voices, fists swinging, or someone crying. But today, she found Jaden standing quietly with his hands by his side, while Tyler, normally loud and confident, looked like someone who had just woken from a long, uncomfortable dream. What happened here? The teacher asked firmly, her eyes scanning their faces. Tyler opened his mouth, then glanced at Jaden. Something inside him softened. Jaden had every reason to expose him, every reason to get him in trouble. He knew that. And yet Jaden stood there, still and peaceful, not accusing anyone. Tyler swallowed. Nothing, ma'am. We were just talking. The teacher raised an eyebrow. She wasn't fully convinced, but Jaden nodded politely. It is true, Jaden said softly. We only talked. The teacher looked between the two boys again, searching for signs of conflict, but Jaden's calm expression didn't match a typical victim. And Tyler's nervous silence didn't match a typical aggressor. It was clear something had happened, something intense, something emotional, but nothing she could punish based on what she saw. All right, she said slowly, then everyone needs to head to class. Now. The crowd dissolved immediately. Students scattered with whispered conversations, shocked by the ending none of them expected. A few looked back at Jaden with newfound respect. Others glanced at Tyler, surprised by how quietly he stood. When the teacher walked away, Tyler remained in place. He didn't rush off like Brandon or Chase, who both practically sprinted out of the courtyard, too embarrassed to stay. Tyler rubbed his hands together awkwardly. Look, Jaden? Jaden turned toward him gently. Yes. Tyler exhaled hard. His voice was quieter than anyone had ever heard it. I'm sorry. For everything. I treated you wrong. I thought you were an easy target, and I didn't even try to know who you were. Jaden stared at him for a few seconds. Not judging, not angry, just observing the sincerity in Tyler's voice. It is okay, Jaden said softly. We all make mistakes. Tyler shook his head. No, it's not okay. You didn't deserve that. You didn't do anything to us. And you still didn't fight us, even when you could have. Jaden lifted one shoulder in a small shrug. I fight in tournaments, not in schools. Tyler gave a small, awkward laugh. It was the first time Jaden heard him laugh without meanness. So it's true. You're, like, really good. Jaden nodded humbly. I trained since I was 8. Muay Thai is important to me. Tyler stared at him, stunned again, not by Jaden's skill, but by how easily he spoke about it without pride. Jaden had more humility than anyone Tyler knew. Why didn't you tell us? Tyler asked. Jaden looked toward the walkway filled with moving students. Because I wanted a normal first day. I wanted friends, not fear. Those words hit Tyler directly in the chest. Jaden didn't want respect because he was strong. He wanted respect because he was human, just like everyone else. Tyler lowered his head. You got more courage than all of us put together, man. You didn't even need to fight to make your point. Jaden smiled gently. I am glad nobody got hurt. For a moment, the two boys simply stood in silence, strangers just hours ago, now connected by a moment neither expected. As they walked toward the school entrance, something surprising happened. A girl named Mia stepped toward Jaden. She had been watching from the edge of the crowd earlier. Hey, she said softly. What you did back there, it was really mature. Not many people can stay that calm. Jaden felt his cheeks warm a little. Thank you. Her smile grew. You'll make a lot of friends here. I'm sure of it. Tyler noticed the interaction and grinned. See? Already more popular than me. Jaden laughed quietly. Not mocking, just amused. As they reached the hallway, Tyler stopped and placed a hand on Jaden's shoulder. Not aggressively. Not to test him. But as a genuine sign of respect. You ever need anything, or anyone bothering you again, you come to me, all right? Tyler said. Jaden blinked. I appreciate that. Tyler nodded firmly. And I mean it. You're cool, man. Better than us. No one is better, Jaden corrected kindly. We all learn. Tyler smiled, and this time it wasn't forced. Guess I've got a lot to learn then. Jaden nodded softly. We all do. Later that week. Things changed quickly at school. People no longer saw Jaden as the quiet new boy. They saw him as someone who carried himself with dignity and calm strength. Students greeted him in the hallways, asked to sit with him during lunch, wanted to know his story. Even Brandon and Chase apologized separately, each visibly embarrassed by their behavior. Jaden accepted their words with grace, not rubbing their mistakes in their faces. But the biggest change came from Tyler. He stopped picking on people. He stopped trying to impress the wrong crowd. He even started going to the gym before school, not to fight, but to train discipline. Some people asked him why. Tyler's answer was always the same. Because a new kid taught me what real strength looks like. And Jaden? He earned respect he never demanded. He made friends he never expected. And he lived the quiet, peaceful school life he truly wanted. The truth spread across the school, not as gossip, not as drama, but as inspiration. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who chooses not to fight.